The modern man lives in a self-indulged, narcissistic, bound, techno-dependent bubble. They don't have a sense of things. They don't have a sense of reality, and they don't have a sense of manhood, what it requires to achieve manhood. They generally don't have a good role model example. And what you see around you is just cartoon characters, as I like to say. And then you watch movies or use artists as points of reference. But they don't have a sense of things. And each one of these guys has been sold the dream that they are special, they are unique, and they're the best. This applies to women also, but we're talking about men. I'm talking about in general. I'm not talking, no, there are some who understand the nature of things, but your average Joe lives in a bubble where he's the more intelligent, more everything than everybody else. There's no one superior to him. I think it's safe to say. So how is it that such an individual, first of all, can collaborate with others? If the moment he steps out of his little bubble, his magical world will be challenged and destroyed. So he will not engage with the world outside, or will avoid with everything he's got to enter in relation to it, because it will create an anxiety in him and he'll feel threatened. So he'll just isolate himself more and more and more. Let's say the guy has a little bit of game and some kind of skill set. Maybe he'll get himself a girlfriend at some point who will just snatch him and just isolate him. He's already isolated. She'll just essentially go into his room. And she'll entertain his fantasy that he's the greatest, he's the best, he's the this, he's the that. Keeping him in a shelter. She's not doing that. He's already doing that. She's just, let's say, facilitating it. Now, of course, I understand this, but it shows that there's a deep, profound... That dude is broken. He's been breeded broken, he's mentally broken, he's emotionally broken. If I dare use the word spiritually, meaning connection, he has got no connection. He's broken. He's a weak individual. In a sense, he doesn't have resources, inner resources, outer resources, and even if he has partial outer resources, because a lot of people, yeah, they function, they have a job, it's nothing extravagant, but in their minds, the picture that they have of themselves is they're the ultimate. Or they play the other card, which is the opposite, which is I'm the most horrible, but it's totally self-centered. It's narcissistic in the sense that they live in an illusion of themselves. And when you engage with other men, let's say you go to a martial arts school, you may think that you're the best martial artist when you're at home after you've watched a Bruce Lee video and then you can do a kick. But then the moment you enter into that field, instantly there's a hierarchy. And it will not take 5 minutes that you will realize that, oh, maybe I'm not Bruce Lee, and this is where I am, at the bottom, which is super fine. There's no problem with that. This is how learning is done. But because your average man has never learned how to be a man, has never learned to learn, and lives in a bubble that has been somewhat instigated by his mother in order to keep control over him for the rest of his life, so he's amazing. He doesn't have to do anything. You're a little baby in the arms of your mom. Do you need to accomplish anything to be amazing? You are the most wonderful thing that has ever existed. We're talking about in general. So that's the world that individual lives in. You enter into a dojo, for example. This is just an example because this applies to every field, okay? And we can give other examples in a second. He's immediately confronted. Technically, there is no issue. But because he's been brainwashed, mentally washed, emotionally washed since he's a child, he doesn't know it. And for him, this is the destruction of his fantasy. And beneath his fantasy there's a weakling. There's a person who doesn't know how to stand. There's a person who has no self-esteem. There's a person who has no sense of self. So that's very hard. That's very painful. It's a very hard place to be. Sometimes, this is a small tangent that's not a tangent, and I think this may even be more dangerous. You can live in a deluded world, but somehow you have skills. So it seems you're actually competent. And you can manage and you do well for yourself, but you still have the same issue. You know what I mean? You live in a bubble, the fantasy of yourself. Let's not go there. So technically, your average guy has an issue with that. He has an issue with the learning process, which is you have to pay your dues, earn your stripes, which is very military based, is very masculine. The women operate the same way, but it's not as vertical, like very tick, 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 tick. But it's the same. You have to earn your rights, right? Your guy doesn't feel comfortable with that. It hurts him. So it shows a few things. I've said the core, the most important element, I've said it, but it shows also that the person doesn't really have an interest in achieving or learning or developing himself. All he really wants is to hold on to the fantasy. So how is that individual going to work with other people without sabotaging everything? Like, let's say you're in university. I was in university in engineering, we had school projects, right? So you have to sit with a bunch of people, guys, girls, and somehow there's some kind of hierarchy that organizes itself. Hierarchy not meaning one is better than the other, but this is clear a manager type, this is a geek for this, and then there's the guy who doesn't care, and then there's a person who's super insecure. So that person creates fits all the time. Everything is a source of fit. That person is offended by anything and everything, which diverts the attention from the fact that he's incompetent or he doesn't care or he's not serious, right? And then he'll find a reason to insult. I will never forget this dude because as we're talking, I'm thinking about that dude. It literally was in engineering. It was a project class. It's a class where we create a project. And I didn't care so much about school, but I'd respect myself. I'd do, especially in a group where people depend on you. And he was just fucking not caring at all. And there was a girl, you know, sometimes, well, many times girls are like super serious and she's like wanting to take care and manage everything. And there was another girl and two guys. One who's doesn't care me, but I will do what you asked me to do at the time. And him who doesn't give a fuck, doesn't want to show up. So all he would do when he'd come to the meeting is pick fights with the girl. She was a white Canadian, and he's some kind of, I don't remember, I think he was Tunisian, or just like, and he's just creating a friction that doesn't exist because his ego is being threatened in every direction, and it's highlighting the fact that he's not at all serious. So that was an example. So these cats will create these dramatic emotional outbursts to sabotage or divert the attention from the actual project, which requires a formal organization, a formal hierarchy, and each person takes their respectful place in order to do something. So how is a cat who's so insecure going to work with others? How will that guy work with other men and build brotherhoods to accomplish great things if that dude is just a bitch? It's unfair to the bitch, to be honest. But we understand that language, don't we? So it's going to be nearly impossible. So young men who have been conditioned to be incompetent, they've been educated by their mothers to be incompetent. She trained him to be incapable. And even if he's maybe capable in one thing, he's so incapable of so many other things that he's weak. He doesn't know how to socialize, doesn't know how to interact with people, doesn't know how to interact with women. He doesn't necessarily know how to work with other people. Maybe he's a geek and he knows how to do math. You know, that's fine. That's his outlet. But there's so much more to life than just one thing. Being a specialist of one tiny thing that has no meaning in the overall picture. So you take that guy and you put him with other guys. How is that going to work? It's never going to work. So if that guy at some point realizes, listen, I'm dysfunctional because the experience is genuine, I'm suffering because of that, I'm stuck, I feel like dysfunctional. So that guy is going to want perhaps to learn the basics of learning. He's going to have to learn to develop self-confidence by discovering who he is, his skill sets, humble himself and understand that the learning process is a game. Everywhere you go, there's a pyramid, a hierarchy of power. There's a guy at the top who generally, hopefully, earned his place to be there. And then there's a bunch of people who are aspiring to go and grow in the ranks of power, authority, of knowledge, or skill. And then you start at the bottom. Maybe you're very good from the start, but you're certainly not as good as the top guy. And if you are, then you're in the wrong school. You're in the wrong pyramid. You're in the wrong structure. And that's in everything. So if you go and you get a job, it's the same. If you go to a dojo, it's the same. If you want to learn an art form, it's the same. Anything, everything. But the very concept of hierarchy means I don't know and somebody knows more than me, which means I need to humble myself in order to learn. But your average dude thinks because he's watched videos, he knows. And we spoke about this before. This era of information gives you the illusion that you actually know something. You know about the pyramids because you've seen all the documentaries about the pyramids. Yeah, but you've never seen the pyramids with your own eyes. You've never been in their presence. You've never felt their aura. You've never been in awe in front of them. You don't know nothing about the pyramids. You think you know. But when we're so divided from reality, thinking is the new reality. I think I know because I live in a dream. I'm a citizen of my fantasies and my thoughts rule my world. So yeah, I think I know and therefore I do. And when it's unfair to say everybody, when a growing majority is becoming more and more living in their fantasies, this becomes the norm. So that cat, if he's lucky, fortunate, intelligent enough to realize, listen, I'm really incompetent. They have to go through a big process of deconditioning and reclaiming themselves, and then they have to learn how to learn. So one of the main things my father used to tell me when I went to engineering, because I didn't want to be an engineer, he says, it's going to teach you how to learn. It's going to teach you how to think. I'm not sure it did. I think he taught me how to learn and how to think, but he didn't want to take any credit. The point is, you have to learn how to be a student. To learn how to be a student is the most important skill set I learned. And I didn't learn it when I was a kid. I learned it when I met an actual teacher. And life had crushed me. Like I had lived in my first 20-some years living in this artificial idea of myself. And I'm the perfect example. My average was 80% some. So I can do good for myself. My bullshit is top 20%. If I made a little bit of effort, maybe I can gravitate to the top 15, 10%, but I'm full of shit still. And this is in one pyramid. Then after this pyramid, there's a bigger pyramid where there's bigger, better players. So I would never want to go there because I couldn't handle it. But in my world, it kind of worked. And I used my compensations as best as possible. And at some point, everything about my life wasn't working. Nothing worked. I couldn't advance further. I was bound, and that collapsed. And my world self-destructed. My self-esteem, the little that I had, which was mostly artificially induced, fell apart. And I was like, I have nothing. I'm nothing. And I've never actually learned anything. Like really learned something. Sure, I knew how to do a bunch of things, but did I really learn? When the first time I was with a girl, was I really learning about pussy? Was I really learning about sexuality? Or was I trying to act and perform? Of course I was trying to perform. I didn't even know that I'm trying to perform, but nobody told me that you're supposed to learn, nor did anybody teach me. So yeah, I'm kind of learning from the side. I'll never forget one of the first girls, she says, I enjoy being with you because it's like you're exploring. I'm like, well, I'm going to explore. Right? I'm like, I've never done that. Like I have to explore. So when every aspect of your life you've always, years ago I went there's a skating rink. I had some time, I went to play hockey. And there was this little kid that came over and maybe he was like 10. He didn't know how to tie his skates. In fact, I think he even kept the guards on. He didn't know how to tie his skates. He knew nothing. And I remember it was a moment for me. And I looked at him and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm playing hockey. And he was stubborn. Like he's going to prove that he knows how to play hockey. And I was looking at him, I'm like, this guy's an idiot. Like, this guy's so ridiculous. He's got a good heart because he's there and he doesn't care. But he's like so stupid. And no, I know how to do it. I'm like, dude, you don't even know. You're on the ice with the skate guards. No. And he's just like doing whatever he wants, trying to plow through it. And then after a few questions, I realized, okay, he's got a big brother issue, right? You want to prove something, which is not the point. Let's not get psychological. But I'm like, it was so stunning. I'm like, you don't know fuck all. And here you are acting like you know something, and you think you can fake your way to knowing how to play hockey. So how many people actually took the time to learn something? Like your learning means you're relaxed, and you put yourself in a place of studentship, where you put yourself receptive, which means you respect the knowledge. You learn to develop love for the knowledge. You also need some kind of teacher. And then you go through the motions of learning. Not for a week, for months, years. Most people, they don't do that. They will never do that. And yes, we can agree we go to school, so we learn things, but most people don't give a fuck about school. I learned math. I didn't give a shit about math. I did what I had to do to get the grades, right? No, nobody cares. It's not, you don't hold it to your heart. So how do you accomplish anything if you don't know how to be a student? So at some point I realized, well, I don't know how to learn actually. I've been in university for years, but everything I'm doing is just to get it over with. I don't care. And the things that I care about, I'm so insecure, and I so don't want to be humiliated, and I want to hold the facade that I know and that I'm okay and I can do it in the eyes of the others. That's the only thing I care about. And because I could do okay for myself, so even if I'm a beginner, I'm more good than your average guy. So it's like, okay, my ego is happy. So you never put yourself in a place of studentship and learning to master a craft. I didn't even understand that concept. Although it may be around me, my mind wasn't, all I'm looking for is the applaud, the glory, the recognition, the validation that come automatically with a form of mastership. I didn't understand that. So when my whole little world self-destructed, and eventually I rose from the ashes because I had a teacher who picked me up like a shit that I was, and I realized, like, I was totally broken and totally humbled. I'm like, I cannot be lower than this in my own eyes. I'm like, I'm at rock bottom, and if it wasn't for you hooking me, the next step from rock bottom is demise. So you have no ego left. You're crushed. It comes back though, don't worry. Oh yeah, does it ever? But for a moment, I was so humbled, and I'm in such a hard position that you're like, and you don't even know that you're looking for help because you're so fucked, you're so shattered. And the help comes, and then it takes you a couple of minutes to understand what's happening to you and why. And then from that point on, of course, I'm going to master whatever he's teaching me in a minute because I'm Superman, I'm this, I'm that. And I remember it's a form of yoga not like your average yoga asanas. Yoga doesn't matter, right? And I'm at a retreat, and I'm talking to people who've been there for 10 years, 15 years, and I'm there, I'm arrogant. I haven't even meditated for actually technically even an hour properly on my own. But I'm already in my mind, I'm Superman, I'm unstoppable. And I remember very vividly talking to this girl. She was from Vienna, and maybe 10, 12 years older than me. And she knew I was a beginner. Obviously, I looked like a clown, didn't know what I'm talking about. And also supremely curious as part of my personality, asking thousands of questions. And then she's telling me how it works. I'm like, I'm going to show you how it works. That's how I'm telling her. And I remember how she responded to me. You know, girls like a little cockiness, but she's also like, you're an absolute total idiot because you have no idea what you're talking about. You're so stupid, you don't even know how stupid you are. You cannot do that here. I'm like, no, you'll see. And of course, during that retreat, I got my ass whooped in every way, shape, and form. I got so broken, it was not even funny. The point is, then I started to understand, okay, I have a lot to learn. But I had something I wanted to learn, something that mattered to me, something that was personal to me, something that had value for me. And then I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to learn. I must learn this, so I will do it. Immediately, I had 2 mentors, not one, I had 2. Even a third came along. And they loved the shit out of me because suddenly I was a student. I had no issues, no authority problems. I'd never say no because I just wanted to learn. The reason I was in that position was because I had been so broken and so humiliated, and also because I found something that I genuinely felt, loved, and felt I needed that. I need this. So I really surrendered to that knowledge stream, and I really wanted to learn. So immediately I had 1 mentor, 2 mentors. One was maybe 8 years older than me. The other one was, at the time I was, let's say, early 20s. He was 45 or something, a little older dude. Not really old, but when you're 20s, a little older dude. And they just like took me under their wings. And so that guy was like very engineering. This one was kind of like more artistic, and then this dude talked to that dude. And I was just like the kid brother and just swallowing it, taking it in, taking it in, taking it in, taking it in. I would never say a word. So I had it in me. But it really had to come forth, and it came forth because I was annihilated. And I was in such a hard position. And the path itself revealed itself to me at least just a little bit. So for me to realize, this is like way above my head. I shut the fuck up for 3 years in a bad. All I did is study, practice, read, hang out with them, ask questions, study, practice, shut the fuck up, read, study, practice, talk with them. And eventually they wanted me to do some kind of work, if you'd like. And I didn't want to do it. So no, you should do it. So I started to do it. And eventually after 3 years, I'm good. Come on, I know. I start to like have conflict with my mentor. Ideologically speaking, I'm like, nah. This is because now I had done 3 years of consistent practice, and we're talking about at least 4 to 6 hours of practice every day, plus the study of the theory. I know at least the basic. I know it fucking well, and I'm having a conflict now, and the mentor is unable to resolve it for me. I'm like, no, we have a place of non-meeting, and my mind is starting to diverge from yours, and I'm starting to realize, wait a minute, you're stubborn. So that was a phase. The point is not now I became a rebel. It meant I needed a new teacher, new mentor. That's what it meant. But the point is, let's go wrap it up together. It says, when you realize that you're suffering because you're ignorant, and you're suffering because you don't know how to be a student, and you don't respect the game, that in every realm that you enter, there's a hierarchy, and there's a person who knows better than you. And if you don't like that person, well, you're not a student. Since that age, when I began my path, since the age of 20, I've surrounded myself with people who know so much more than me in every field, and I've never been shy about it, nor do I ever feel lesser. I don't care. I don't feel bad that you know more than me in this. For me, it's not even a question. I'm interested in crypto, find myself a teacher. I'm interested in this, find myself a teacher. And to be a teacher doesn't mean to have a teacher doesn't mean you're a sucker that takes it up his ass. No, it means I'm available. You know more than me. I want to learn what you got to say, and I have to internalize it myself. And it takes its form within myself, which may not be exactly like yours. The teacher-student relationship is not copy me and be me. It's learn what I've learned, see how it fits for you, and apply it for yourself. We don't have, for example, let's say we have a body. Your body doesn't move like mine, so how can we do the same thing? Which is part of the reason that I always had issues with strict techniques and forms. But wait, everybody's got their own rhythm. This is like one package deal for everybody. Excuse me. So anyways, let's not go into that. So learning to become a student was one of the most important things that I had to do. And it took me years to become a student. I don't want to say I'm a good student. I believe I am. It's for my teachers to tell you if I am or not. But at least I know how to learn, which made me extremely capable because I can learn things fast. I can learn things from anyone. I can learn things from anyone, even a person who's not a teacher, because I'm always looking to learn. That there was a shift in my mindset. I don't care really what you think about me. I'm interested in what I can learn and how that's good for me and my peoples. That's it. I don't give a fuck about your opinion about me at this stage. Whatever, who cares? I just want to learn. And I've also understood, and this is a hard thing for people who haven't learned how to learn to understand, it's like people who laugh at you are beginners. And we spoke about this in another video. A person who's an expert doesn't laugh at a beginner. He may chuckle, he may tease you, but if he's an expert, it's because he was a beginner. That means he fucked up 1,000,000 times, so he knows the drill. There's nothing funny about it. But there's something comical. But it's not a laughing at you to make fun of you and crush your ego. It's like, haha, yeah. Let's see if this kid is going to practice some more. Those who surround you, who laugh at you, are only interested in the appearance, are beginners, and most of them will quit. And a lot of beginners get caught by the facade of the beginners who are all boasting, holding their chest up, trying to compete with one another, who's the best when they are all beginners. And you get caught in this little games of little minions. Nah, I don't have time for this. I'm focused on, the only thing I care is the guru. I don't care about the other students. Guru means the teacher. It doesn't matter in what field. I'm not interested. I don't care about the other students who are at my level or more or less. I'm interested, like, this is the one I'm interested in. And if he's a real teacher, he will never mock you because you're a beginner. He has been a beginner. And to be in a place of beginnership, you need to have space, you need to have mental energy, you need to have the inner resources, because it takes a lot from you to be a beginner. And quickly, when you begin something, when I was a kid, I wanted to be I used to listen to hard rock and heavy metal, and so of course I loved the guitar, and I wanted to play the guitar. So at some Christmas, my she bought me an electric guitar. I thought I wanted to play the guitar. So I got the guitar, she took me some classes, I did this, we did power strings, I think it's called like this. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. No, because I don't care. That's the truth. I played hockey, that's what I cared about. My mind was there, right? And in parallel, I had another buddy, same grade, youth friend who got a guitar maybe a couple of weeks later, and he just took the fucking guitar. He'd hang out, he'd eat supper, guitar is on his lap, he's just obsessed with the guitar. I'm like, okay, he wants to learn. It became very clear. He was just in love with it. I'm like, I don't care. So I had an idea. I thought I wanted to be a guitar player, but the idea got crushed when I was confronted with the fact, this is not easy. This is like 6 strings, your fingers had to go play everywhere, multiple strings at the same time. I don't fucking care. Then it hurts your fingers. Right? I don't want to have to hurt my fingers. I don't see the point of it. I'm going to hurt my fingers and have like awkward, no, I hurt my fingers playing Nintendo. Not the guitar. I don't care. So your fantasy of it dissipates. When you begin something, you have a fantasy about it. You're in love with the idea of it. You're in love with the idea of yourself doing it. But once you begin, this is the beginning of the beginning. You're like, fuck, this is not like my fantasy. Let's say you want to learn how to fight. It hurts. It's not, in your head it doesn't hurt. It's not at all that. It's like awkward. Then your body's sore. And then you have this and then you have that. And I don't want this. Once the reality and your fantasy are confronting one another, if there's real, genuine interest and love, the love starts to take over, the fantasy starts to dissipate, and you start to focus, okay, now I understand, I got a lot of work in front of me, and I want to do that work. That's studentship. Unfortunately, if we wrap it up with how we started at the start, most people are in their fantasy. And learning requires to get out of the fantasy. Doesn't matter what field. And everybody has fantasies. Until you know something, you have an idea of it. And you can love the idea of it. And of course, if it wasn't for entertainment, TV, all this shit that nourishes the dream, right? The products, you get to watch, you can play MMA on your PlayStation. All these things that entertain that make the fantasy even greater. Like you play, I don't know which, let's say NHL hockey, and it's you. You create an avatar that's you. You're playing NHL hockey with Sidney Crosby, right? This is feeding your fantasy. Look how far playing this little thing compared to being on a rink with skates with a bunch of psychos who want to like check you on the boards and take the puck from you, and then you have to have a little stick, and you have to like, right? You got to like. Right? Versus just doing this and you're safe on your couch, nothing's going to scratch you except maybe you're going to sore with your fingers. That's easily, you can get through that one easily. So the fantasy's got to go. And learning means you're confronted with the reality of the craft you want to discover. It dissipates the dream and you're like, wow. And depending on the how big it is, how intimidated you'll be, and how much you need to become a student. Some things are less demanding. It's not to reduce it, but it's like, no, it's a small power, right? It doesn't take you forever, right? And some art forms or crafts are like much bigger and much bigger and much bigger, which means you need to become all the more humble in order to become a student. So anyways, if I can recommend something to a man, I'm like, your first thing you need to learn is to be a student. And that's the most important thing you can learn. And once you have that, you're set. There's nothing you cannot accomplish. Once you learn how to be a student, you know how to collaborate with other men within at least a certain field because you respect hierarchy. This one knows better than me. It don't mean you're his bitch. It means within this field, this guy knows better than you. So if you're smart, shut the fuck up and observe. That's it. You don't have to kiss his ass or suck his cock or be one of those dudes. You learn. Absorb, 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 absorb. I don't have time I can do it better. I'm like, I don't care if I could do it better or not. Right now, I don't. I'm looking at him and I'm just taking it in. I have no shyness. I think it's an awesome place to be. It feels great. You don't have to be good. Nobody expects you to be good. So if you have one skill set, in my humble opinion, that you need to learn as a man or a woman or a human being, but we're talking to men, you got to learn how to be a student. And studentship means patience. Another thing that people have lost. Studentship means patience. Life is about being patient because everything takes time to grow and it takes constant work, constant years. And if you don't put that time in, you'll never get nowhere, but you'll stay in your bubble pretending that you know or pretending you're better, and you'll never get that fullness or fulfillment or the satisfaction of being good at something. And you'll always, refrain from interacting with other people because they'll confront you with the fact that, well, maybe you don't know what you're talking about.